So, look, I know that you listeners of the show are used to a professional, well-structured, on-topic video game show, as Dense Pixels always is every single week. But we're throwing things for a loop this week, because Carrie is joining us midway through the show. I was going to start the show with the news about Jim Ryan last week and his comments, but I have a feeling you're really going to want Carrie to be here for that, because I get the sense her comments are probably going to be great on this specific Jim Ryan story. So we're going to start the show as we never start the show, and that's by starting in the post office to talk about some wrestling stuff. By the way, this is the Dense Pixels podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brad, joined by my co-host, Micah.
Hello.
As I mentioned, Carrie will be along in shortly. If you don't want to hear the wrestling drama, skip ahead 10 minutes in your podcast app, and I think that'll be sufficient. Micah, dealer's choice. What are you going to talk about first? Naomi Sasha drama or the return of a wrestling legend to the ring?
Maybe we should get the public service announcement out of the way. Elder abuse is a thing, and we do not condone it.
No.
Here on the Dense Pixels podcast. No, we want our septuagenarians to be able to not have to feel like they have to throw their bodies around for our entertainment. I don't want this to happen.
How fucking sad. I really feel bad for Ric Flair at this point, because imagine how the dude has something wrong with him, right? Because here is Ric Flair, arguably the greatest professional wrestler of all time. He's in the conversation. He's probably in everyone's top 3, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Most world titles ever, most beloved, one of the most beloved, characters in wrestling, has a daughter who is arguably the greatest women's wrestler of all time as well. Had a fantastic career, had a fantastic send-off when he quote-unquote retired from WWE. Perhaps the best retirement match one could ever see, and the way that all played out. Of course, ruined that by going to TNA afterwards and whatever. But you're this guy. You had a near-death experience 5 years ago. And you still can't just stay away. You still can't just stay away from doing this thing that obviously he loves and probably, wishes he could still be doing on a regular basis. But dude, enjoy the spoils of your labor. I mean, and again, as Ric Flair, the dude,
I think that's the problem.
he's done too much enjoying of the spoils.
Yeah, he's spoiled himself rotten, and now he's gotta take these days. I think it's half and half. I think it's some people, especially if you don't have any other appreciable skills. I don't know Ric Flair, right? Mm-hmm. He might be a genius. I doubt it. But I mean, I've heard some of his political opinions. It definitely does not wander into the area of genius. So guys like that generally don't have any other appreciable skills. And I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I'm stating it as a point of fact, right? That's why that's why athletes, there's something in them. That's why they're so great, right? They're a master at one thing and they want to keep doing it. And I understand the mentality. But it gets to the point where it's kind of sad. Especially if you can't do it at a high level.
Right. And to be clear, with Ric Flair, we reached that point 12 years ago.
Yeah,
when he did a cameo in TNA.
Yeah, man. This is just I feel bad, right? And then on the other hand, it's well, this dude probably still has a bunch of finance, like that car shield money wasn't coming in like it should have, right? So
yeah, but it's not like he's coming back and wrestling for AEW or WWE. He's wrestling at some fucking SummerSlam adjacent, wrestling show put on by his son-in-law, which, by the way, fucking son Conrad Thompson. What are you doing letting your 73-year-old fucking father-in-law get back, Get back into the ring.
I know exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to hurry this thing up so that whatever's in whatever will might be coming his way.
I'm about to say, so he could be saddled with all of Ric Flair's debt that he that he fucking has. Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
I think wrestling is it's such a weird business because it's such a weird relationship between like fans and performers and management. Like fans love the performers and performers love the fans, and everybody hates management, but sometimes the performers don't, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's so like we as fans feel like we take ownership, right, of these people, right? Like there were GoFundMes for like Jake the Snake, right? Like the fans want to see these people protected and taken care of, especially because this business is it's a carny business.
Yeah.
And it's not a typical like 9 to 5. Wrestling is the furthest thing from any type of typical job. And so we have a sense of ownership, but at the same time, like it's still real to me, damn it. Like most people get introduced to wrestling when they think it's real. Mm-hmm. And when they're young, and nostalgia is a hell of a thing, and they don't want to let go either, right? And who doesn't like to see like an old man like relive his glory days?
I don't know, but that's the same argument that people make when they go see like the Rolling Stones now. You know what I mean? Like those guys are in their fucking mid-70s and they're like, oh, like it's a chance to see the legendary band. No, it's not. It's a chance to see the Rolling Stones in their 70s. Like seeing the Rolling Stones would have been, when you saw them at the peak of their powers, like in the mid-70s and, the early 80s. Like that's when you want to see the Rolling Stones. You don't want to see the Rolling Stones now. Just like, I'm perfectly happy to see like, late 80s throughout the 90s Ric Flair, and maybe even to the aughts. Like Ric Flair had some fun times and had some fun matches in WWE. But I don't want to see Ric Flair wrestling now at 73, not having wrestled in like a fucking match in God knows how long, coming off of, like heart condition that left him at death's door, like that kind of shit.
Well, that's because you're well adjusted. And that's my point, right? Like sometimes it's a person with, I won't say mental, like it's a person who can't give it up, and if you are that type of person, you can find people to enable you. It's like a drug, man. Like if you hang around enablers, like they're going to enable you to do something like this, and it's just kind of sad at this point. Like really I agree with you. I don't need to see Ric Flair wrestle. No. I really don't. That dude made it out, and he's still living. He's from an era where a lot of his contemporaries have died 10 years ago.
If they were so lucky.
Right. So I want that dude to be able to just kind of, just enjoy it, man. Who knows how long you got left anyway? Like, just try to enjoy it. But maybe this is his thing, right? Maybe this is his thing. And it's not like he can do this at a high level, right? Like the fact that Tom Brady is still throwing footballs around in his early, mid 40s,
yeah,
is amazing to me. In one sense. But at the same time, like Tom Brady is he's not at the height of his powers. Mm-hmm. He ain't that far from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but football is also a team sport, though, and I get that Tom Brady's playing the most important position on the field, and it is impressive the level that he's able to still play that position at an age that pretty much no one else I could think of in history has been able to play at such a high level. But he wouldn't be at as high of a level if he didn't have other excellent players around him.
Well, can't you say that? Can't you say that about wrestling also?
Depends. I mean, I guess for what they're proposing Ric Flair do, which is to stand on the apron in a 6-man tag team match, except for like coming in and getting a hot tag and wrestling for 3 minutes, like you could make that argument. But again, Tom Brady can still throw football, can still throw a spiral 50 yards down the field. Like he
Right.
can still read a defense. Like Ric Flair
Right.
physically
Ric Flair
doesn't have
can't
the
do
ability
that.
to do those things anymore.
Yeah, he can't do that anymore.
I mean, he can throw a chop, I'm sure, and throw on like a figure four leg lock or whatever. But I mean, it's it's like watching it at like half speed compared to what he was back then. I think this is a terrible idea.
I as well.
But I want to move on to the other topic at hand with wrestling as Carrie's coming in. But she's gonna deal with the wrestling for 2 seconds. We talked about Ric Flair. We have to talk briefly about Sasha Naomi reportedly walking out of Raw last night for creative differences.
Yeah. There's always a part of me that's like, but wrestlers are always working, right?
Yeah.
Like they're always working. And the fact that WWE came out with a statement saying Raw is a scripted show and this, that, and the other, and I'm like, well, I don't know what to think, right? Because they don't usually come out and say, "Hey, we're scripted," right?
Right.
Yeah, we all know it, but you don't really say it, right? Like I saw someone give the analogy, like, it's like watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but then coming up and saying, "Don't worry, Leatherface didn't really kill those people," right? Like we know, right? But we're in the moment, so it's just weird that they would come out with that statement. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take this reporting as at its face and say that they did walk out. Good for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I understand the whole like, I got a job to do, but like depending on what it is, like this is still wrestling, yo. Like they wrestling like plays with stereotypes, like fighting games characters play with stereotypes. You know what I'm saying? Like depending on what they were asked to do, I would walk out too, right? Like Mustafa Ali, when he walked out, he was like, they wanted me to do something that was so bad, I don't want to repeat it. I mean, that sounds like a terrorist angle to me, but I don't, and I wouldn't put it above. I wouldn't put it above this company, even now in 2022, when they should know better. But I don't know. I'm very curious to find out what is going on.
Well, reportedly they walked out because they were supposed to be booked in this like 6-person match last night, and reportedly Naomi was supposed to win the match, which gave her a title opportunity at the next pay-per-view. But she was supposed to pin Sasha to do it, and then they were gonna and then Sasha was gonna somehow get Ronda Rousey at the next pay-per-view. So like both the tag team champions were gonna fight in title matches and both lose. And their argument was they didn't like the booking because they're like, we're the women's tag team champions, but now you're putting us into like we made something out of nothing. Like they just kind of slapped those two together, and they made a really good team out of it. And they're like, but you're not really booking us strong. Like we're supposed to be champions. Like we want you to care about this tag team division, but instead now you're just trying to putting us in the singles matches where we're just gonna be on the losing end again. And they didn't appreciate that.
I think someone in the creative team in WWE is a big fan of the stylistics in their song "Break Up to Make Up," because that's all they do, right? Like they throw together two independent wrestlers to a tag team in order to break them up, and that shit gets old, man.
Yeah,
like it is real old.
It's also it's also an amazing contrast in their biggest competitor. It has like. One could argue too many stables, but it's not like these stables are together for 2 weeks and then they're splitting up. Like they're like it's together for the long haul, which makes when they split, it makes it feel more impactful.
They have so many stables. They're coming out with a new championship for stables.
Yes,
like Jesus Christ. Yeah, it just sounds like weird booking. Yeah. Like, I mean, what's the point of having the women's tag champions? You don't have that many. One, you don't have that many female stars on any one particular show, and two, like, I don't know, man. I love tag team wrestling, but I love like actual tag teams, not just like two independent. Like the only independent stars that are in a tag team that kind of gets over is RK Bro. And I'm not even like a huge fan because I'm not like a Riddle guy, right? Like The guy's like athletic and all that, but hey, I don't like Johnny Utah, yo. I don't like that like character. So I don't know, man. I'm super curious to see what becomes of this, because this is not the first time that Sasha has just been like, you know what, these tag championships, like I'm trying to make it a thing. Y'all don't give a damn, so why should I give a damn?
Yeah.
Right. And you can't let Sasha go, yo. You can't, especially with Charlotte.
Well, and
like,
that's the thing. Like, I think they both realize they have leverage now. Like, Sasha has all these other projects outside of WWE, and Naomi is, you know, married to like one of the fucking like she's in like the inner sanctum right now. So like, you know, flex your leverage. I don't care. Like, fuck it. I'm not gonna sit here and side with fucking WWE creative.
Right, corporate, right? Yeah. Like, get the fuck out of here. You know?
So whatever. And look, it led to a good match last night anyway. So all worked out.
Yeah.
Man. So moving on to video game news. The TNP Studios network stretches far and wide. We know this. We know that we are popular around the globe. But
are we?
Oh, we are. We're very popular. not this show as much as others, but I'm saying
okay.
the network. Right. The network is popular. Okay. However, I can tell. You can tell when people don't listen to our show, which is incredible to me. But clearly, Jim Ryan of Sony, the you know, executive vice president of Sony, whatever, is not a listener of TNP Studio shows, because Jim Ryan did not follow
a fucking walnut, my dude.
he did not follow one of the core tenets of TNP, which is shutting the fuck up is always free.
Yeah.
And you don't have to say something, especially when the something that you say is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my entire life. I will read quotes from an internal email that was sent by Jim Ryan out to Sony in the wake of the Roe versus Wade, Supreme Court decision leaking out, and all of the coverage that's been around that. If you'd like to learn more about that, make sure you listen to, I think 2 weeks ago's episode of Look Forward, where we talked pretty much for the whole episode about it. But
I feel like I'm due for a Look Forward appearance to talk about that shit.
I mean, look, wait until the next big, wait until the decision comes out, and then I'm sure Jay would be happy to have you on to yell about that. So he says, quote, to Sony staff, "We owe it to each other and PlayStation's millions of users to respect differences of opinion among everyone in our internal and external communities," which is basically them saying, hey, don't talk about the Roe versus Wade decision. Because it's a touchy subject, everybody. And if that was all that he said, it'd be pretty bad. But Jim Ryan took it to the next level in ways that you cannot possibly imagine. Because the best way to lend gravity and weight to a very serious subject is to then, in the same email, basically talk about something ridiculously trivial, because he wanted to get away from the serious subject by saying he'd like to share something lighthearted to help inspire everybody, mindful of having balance that can help ease the stress of uncertain world events. And he proceeded to tell everyone at PlayStation that it was his cat's first birthday recently, and he elaborated over the cat's birthday cakes, the noises that they make, and his desire to one day get a dog. Which honestly for Mike is probably the most offensive part of the entire story, if I'm being honest.
No, this is the cat. I can't stand cats. I really I understand why people like dogs. I don't understand why people like cats. No offense to Ganondorf and Ovi and all of your cats.
Ovi is dead. Ovi's been dead for some years.
I apologize. I apologize. I do not care.
I'll let you guys guess how this went over at PlayStation Studios. One quote that came out about the message saying, quote, "They've never been so mad about a cat birthday before," in the wake of this Jim Ryan news.
It's just trivializing. Like the idea that an executive would send out a company-wide email to a staff that presumably includes many women as well as
at least a couple.
many female body havers, which may not always be women, of course, but the idea that we're going to open up an email with like, please respect people's differences in opinion about, your right to make decisions about your own body. Now I'm going to talk about my cat's birthday for 5 paragraphs. Like, how? It's unfathomably disrespectful to people who may now have to make, serious decisions about where they're going to live, where they're going to work, who they're going to talk to about certain things, based on what happens with this Supreme Court decision. And Jim Ryan's like, yeah, respect differences in opinion. My cat had a birthday. Fuck you.
Like, I think I understand what he's trying to do, right? Like he's like, I don't want to talk about like racism and sexism and like political stuff at work. So, but I feel like I need to address it. So here it is, and then he uses his cat like a smoke pellet, right? Now look at my cat, right? Like this is some shit that you would see in like a comedy or something, right?
Look,
like,
I love talking about my cats, but like I'm not going to use my cat as a distraction from like terrible real world events.
Right.
I'm not going to be like, yes, the day of my cat's quinceañera is upon us, and let me describe to you exactly what I'm doing with that, instead of, recognizing the actual serious, hurt that people will go through because of this.
Yeah.
Shit.
And look, I will give Jim Ryan the slightest benefit of the doubt in that he is based in Europe. Obviously, he hasn't, like, I would assume he's probably not keyed into the American news cycle like crazy to know kind of like the fact that this has been hanging over our head like a sword of Damocles for the last several years, especially in the wake of, Donald Trump getting to appoint 3 Supreme Court justices. So, like, I get he doesn't understand the heaviness of the topic from an American sensibility point of view. But again, I just have to go back to the point, like, you didn't have to say anything. Like you could have just said nothing at all. Or you could have made the original statement of like, hey, be respectful to each other and don't talk about this shit, and left it at that, and you would have gotten dragged, but not nearly as bad as you got dragged for also like, hey, let me bring some levity to this situation right now. Like, that's insane to me that someone didn't like proofread this before he sent out like, you know what, Jim, I don't think we need the last 3 paragraphs of this email.
Was it that long? Was it 3 paragraphs?
I don't know how long it actually was, but according to it's not getting better, because now, according to reporting coming out, PlayStation is telling their studios like, hey, don't make any public comments about this because we don't want to wade into controversial waters here, essentially. So like Naughty Dog talked about that they're donating $50,000 to the Women's Reproductive Rights Assistance Project, or not Naughty Dog, Insomniac rather, and Sony has agreed to match that contribution, which is great, but they won't authorize any public statement on Insomniac making this donation.
Like, they'll make the donation, but they don't want to talk about it.
No,
because they don't want, like.
Well, and again, this probably, honestly, like, part of this probably goes back to the whole, like, Disney fiasco that's going on in Florida right now, where Disney's CEO is pressured into speaking out against the Florida, anti-gay legislation that they were passing through.
Now, of course, that they've done that, now that they have spoken out against it, now they have literal Nazis at the entryway to Disney World flying literal swastikas.
Yes.
In front of Disney World.
So I think that's probably where I have to believe that's where Sony, and that's where they're coming from with this. Like they don't want to attract any attention to themselves around the topic because they don't want like, you know, anti-choice demonstrators outside of Sony studios in Santa Monica and shit like that. But again,
which I get, but like fucking grow a backbone, guys. Come on, you've got enough money to have the security necessary to prevent these people from doing anything to you.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Have like the donations are great, but like, can we have a fucking spine about them? That would be
Right.
Ideal.
Meanwhile, fucking future Sony studio Bungie was out here fucking dragging people on Twitter who were like they were putting out like crazy public statements, and people were like, "Oh, just talk about video games." They're like, "Shut the fuck up, Jim! Like we don't really give a shit what you think about this. If you don't want to play Destiny, then go kiss my ass." I fucking loved it. It was awesome. Like I don't think I've ever seen a company like be so
I've never
forthright.
seen any video game company be so forthright with stuff about that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it coming from a studio as high profile as Bungie. Yeah, that shit was wild. Like it cracked me up. Because it's not like any of these ding dongs are going to stop playing Destiny, right? Like they're going to keep playing Destiny.
Right. They tweeted that shit while waiting for the fucking thing to load.
Right.
The best the best one I saw, someone responded to them being like, "Hey, I just bought like the new Destiny season pass and now I'm upset that you're talking about this, so I'd like a refund, please." And someone else responded to him like, "Actually, I think you should be forced to carry the season pass for the next 9 months."
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's good shit. Again, I understand corporations want to have their cake and eat it too, right? Like they want all the benefits of being able to like donate money to whatever politicians they want and advocate for the political speech that they want to, but they don't like having to take a stand if they think that stand is going to be controversial. By the way, I don't personally think that allowing a woman the right to choose what is done with her body is that controversial of a take. I think it's actually quite a bit more radical stance to want to deny people from letting that happen. But obviously, like abortion topics in this country have long been a third rail, as it were, even though it's kind of ridiculous that is the case. So I understand where Sony is coming from here on this case, but I don't know, man. Like I said, with all this fucking press out there now, it's kind of hard to shy away from it, but they will, because again, they don't want to draw that attention to themselves. So
yeah, well, we do want to draw attention to ourselves. So go to densepixels.com/fans to get invited to our Discord and pay attention to us. When you do, you can drop us a line in the post office. You can talk about the Premier League. It's almost over, correct?
Championship Sunday is this weekend. So it's one of the better Championship Sundays in recent memory because the title is going to be up for grabs, the championship. The race for the top 4 is going to be decided on Sunday with Tottenham Hotspur needing only a draw against already relegated Norwich City to clinch top 4 rights. And there's still a relegation spot to be determined. So all as they say, it's all to play for on this Championship Sunday. Micah, it's obviously Chelsea Football Club, nothing on the line this Sunday. But I wonder if you'll join me in partaking in my normal Championship Sunday ritual, where I literally so what they do on Championship Sunday is all the matches kick off simultaneously, so that no one can like scoreboard watch or anything like that, and it's all over NBC's like array of channels. Essentially, like if it's an NBC channel, there's going to be soccer on from 11 to 1 this coming Sunday. So if you could be like me and have 3 games running at once, trying to watch all 3 games simultaneously, I will have Tottenham on one screen, Arsenal on another screen, and then probably Manchester City on the third, because I'm pretty sure that they are going to win the championship, denying Liverpool a historic quadruple this year.
I have 1, 2, 3 screens here and an iPad and 2 iPads here. So I will partake.
It's a good time.
Go to youtube.com/densepixels and pay attention to us. when you go to youtube.com/densepixels, hit the subscribe button, click the bell icon, and like us, and pay attention to us. Pay attention to us, to all of our podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, including the Nerdpocalypse, Black on Black Cinema, Coming Distractions, and the weekly preview episode of the Look Forward Political Podcast, which has been on fire recently. And I can imagine that I can only imagine that the blaze is going to continue.
It's gonna be a wild episode this week, given current topics in the news. So
yeah, it's the media's fault. You're the real victims. Shut the fuck up. Go to densepixels.com/premium for $5. They didn't say that on Look Forward, by the way. They didn't say that. I'm quoting a dumb bigot on Fox when I said that. Go to densepixels.com/premium for $5 a month or $50 for the full year. You get access to the premium slate of podcasts, including the airing of grievances, No Time to Bleed, The Men with the Golden Tongues, Upstage Conversation, and the full 2-hour Fire El Fuego on Blaze episode of the Look Forward Political Podcasts at densepixels.com/premium.
Not the Blaze, to be very clear. Just
no, not the
Blaze. not on your fucking life. So there was another big bombshell that came out last week, and that is the announcement of the delays into 2023 of the two most high-profile Xbox first-party games that were coming out this year, that being Redfall, which was still slated for a summer release, which is crazy, and Starfield, which was supposed to come out on 11/11/22.
They were really... Bethesda really likes that 11/11 date, don't they?
They really do. I saw someone said, man, if God of War Ragnarok can come out this year, like if they don't release it on 11/11, like just to kind of throw shade on them, like what are they even doing over there? It won't, by the way. It's going to get delayed too. But basically, so Microsoft delayed these games. Starfield reportedly, from people that were working in the studio, said on background that they're glad that they delayed it.
Because they said it was going to be the next Cyberpunk.
Which is not at all what you want to hear.
That's not what Bethesda Game Studio needs after fucking Fallout 76.
No.
You kidding me?
Certainly not.
They're still trying to rebuild their goodwill after that shit. Like, if this is supposed to be like their third pillar of, their single player action RPG experiences, with Elder Scrolls as their high fantasy and then like Fallout as their dystopian environments, with Starfield being like their trek into sci-fi, and that came out and that was garbage, like, ooh boy. Ooh boy.
So
that was gonna be some shit.
Thank
God they delayed that shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be clear, none of us are upset about the delays. Like, we want the games to be good. The internet, however, was very upset because Microsoft had long been touting, these two games, and especially Starfield, as like, hey, like this is going to be like you get to play it for, you get to play it day one just for being a Game Pass subscriber. And so a lot of people have been like subscribing to Game Pass, like looking forward to this and that kind of thing. And then when the delays happen, people came to the realization, they're like, there's not really any first-party Xbox games coming out this year at all, or at least like no like AAA high-profile ones. So why the fuck, do I have Game Pass? And basically, like in a day, the vibes around Game Pass changed from like largely positive, and they had been for the last 2 years, to like, what the fuck? If you guys aren't giving us first-party games, like why the hell am I even subscribing to this? Which I find really interesting, and the criticism was so plentiful that Phil Spencer even had to get on Twitter and issue like a statement saying, "Hey, like we hear you, and you're right. Like we're going to do better, and this, that, or the other thing." Does this ruin Game Pass's value? Not being able to get these games out in a timely fashion?
What wouldn't them releasing it and having those games be trash diminish the value of not just Game Pass but of Microsoft and Xbox as a brand at large more?
I don't know. If people are only paying $15 a month, they might be a little more forgiving. Like, oh, well, whatever. I only paid $15. Like, look at how forgiving Cyberpunk fans were to Cyberpunk, right?
Mhm.
Like, if they're only shelling out $15 a month that they don't think about, they're like, well, they might think, oh, well, I mean, it was free, so I'll give it time. Whereas at least it's there. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's the mentality that I think people are taking here. Whereas if it was something that was guaranteed, you gotta buy this in order to play it, I feel like it wouldn't be as much vitriol. Like there would still be like people who are like, "Ah, give me my game! You promised my game! Ah, take my money and take it!" Right? But I don't think they would be. I think they would be a little more understanding. Well, I'm paying for this. It better be right when it comes out. So I don't think necessarily this diminishes Game Pass's value. Like there's something to play on Game Pass.
Mhm.
Like there is. If you're only getting Game Pass just for the AAA titles, I mean you're kind of cheap.
Mhm.
And if you're only getting it just for the AAA titles, guess what? Unsubscribe and then resubscribe next year. Like it's not like
Like
they're
no one's
locking
forcing you
you
to keep
into
your
a
Game Pass
contract.
subscription.
Right. They're not.
You
It's
can
not a
you can
phone
drop it. You
contract.
can come back.
Right.
It's fine.
And it's not like you got to pay an additional, service fee to get back on it. Like just cycle off and then cycle on.
Yeah.
Right? Like what? Like, you know, Phil Spencer's not going to come to your house and be like, "You're not allowed. You're not allowed to resubscribe because you unsubscribe when Bethesda delayed their
you,
stuff.
you didn't believe in us when the chips
You
were
didn't
down.
believe in us.
Right.
We're not going to let you back in the
Right.
clubhouse. No quitters allowed."
I am I gotta say I'm a little flabbergasted at your guys' take because the subtext that I'm reading in between the lines of what you're saying is that the internet is reacting in a manner disproportionate to the actual issue at hand.
They've never done that before.
I'm shocked. No, Mike is exactly right, and Carrie is as well. Like, just don't subscribe. Like I'm only my Xbox is only there for Game Pass specifically. So like, it's like, okay, well, I guess that's 5 more months that I don't have to give Xbox $15. Like if Starfield's gonna get delayed, so whatever. Like it's not really that big of a deal. And honestly, what I think Mike and the reason this actually hurts Microsoft more than anything. It doesn't hurt Game Pass, it hurts Microsoft because now you don't have those big tentpole titles to push your Xbox sales this holiday. Like you don't have the promise of Starfield to get people to buy Xboxes. People are still gonna buy Xboxes because it's like the only fucking console in the marketplace right now, apparently, because PlayStation is still having a hell of a time producing PlayStation 5s. But it just hurts them from the holiday standpoint. Yeah, it's make the game good. Like don't fucking obviously don't rush it out just to fucking meet some arbitrary deadline. It's a bad look that you don't have any legitimate first party games over the course of an entire calendar year in the third year of your, well, technically second full year of
Yeah.
your system. Like that's a bad look, obviously, but I can't imagine it's a worse look. Like Starfield especially has to be hitting on all cylinders when it comes out. Like this is the first big, like, you could argue, like, game coming out of this new partnership between Microsoft and Bethesda. I saw it funny that people said that since the Bethesda acquisition happened, Bethesda's released more PlayStation exclusive games than than Microsoft exclusive games, which I find a little humorous. But that has to be great when it comes out. So yeah, take as much time as you need. Don't be silly and release the game early. And again, if you were looking forward to those games and you don't want to pay for Game Pass, then that's fine. But I also think that because of this news, Microsoft's going to throw some serious fucking money at somebody this fall to make sure that one of these fall games that are coming out from a third party studio is day and date on Game Pass when that
That
does
wouldn't
drop.
surprise me.
Yeah. Yeah, they're gonna pull their pants down, I think, for that one. Just to get that value out on there, I would imagine.
Oh,
getting back to silly news. Because good lord, this week
More
was
like
full
getting back to shit that Blizzard decided to talk about because they got caught union busting again.
Yeah, this is so dumb. So like Carrie said, like there's a lot going around about Activision Blizzard trying to union bust in the wake of like unions forming within their company, and so they threw in a big like smoke bomb pellet to distract everybody.
But like the smoke bomb also sucks.
It's the dumbest thing ever. So apparently, King Games designed a diversity tool that their studios that's in beta right now. Apparently, it's not being widely used around Activision Blizzard.
But it was started in 2016.
Yeah, started in 2016. That's literally like a circle graph to show so that you can plot out how diverse a character is. So that I guess ostensibly how this works is you create a character in a game and then you consult the diversity space method graph that's been designed here, which measures character diversity on 7 different equally important things. And of course, these are the only ways to measure diversity, but that are culture, ethnicity, age, ability, body type, gender identity, and sexual orientation. And you see how close to the center all of these things are for that character. And I presume that if everything's too close to the center, then you need to bump some of these things out to the edges to get a full, well-rounded, diverse character.
Or a full, well-rounded, diverse cast.
Yes, that yes. Even more so. This is pretty awesome.
It's so not. No, it's not. Don't say that.
Oh,
it's not awesome at all. It's
awesome. Awesome in like the worst way possible. Like I'm using awesome ironically.
It's awesome in like Darkseid just found the anti-life equation. Like, wait, like it's all a math problem. Like
I love how that's their approach. They're like, surely there's no other way to make sure that we could get diverse people in these games. So we must scientifically formulate a method to ensure that diversity is included. I mean, you could hire a diverse staff, which could then speak to their different values and views and things of that nature. That's an alternative method to do it.
Literally, Blizzard employees on Twitter are like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. One of them said, this is the first time I'm seeing this diversity space tool. IMO, the way we truly increase representation in our games is to have diverse game devs in the rooms where decisions are made. There's no substitute for lived experience, which is like, that's it. Because for whatever reason, Activision Blizzard, rather than hiring a more diverse team of employees, would rather turn diversity into a series of things to be checked off via a very stupid 7-point graph. That someone in the Discord, who was that? Fucking Johnny, put our 3 faces.
I was going to go to the post office to say, Johnny, where do you guys fit on the Activision Blizzard ethnicity chart? Now, I'd have to imagine that the center of the diversity chart is
straight white male,
white cis male, born in America, optimal body shape, and everything else like that. So obviously, me. I'm probably like, I have like a little bit jutting out on the body type scale, like probably about halfway up. But everything else is like fucking dead center. Like I'm not the guy you want in your video game, I don't think.
I mean, so that's how you read this. Okay, I was looking at this and I'm like, what? Like, how does this work? Okay, this makes more sense now.
Yeah.
Like, I still don't. I don't get it. I mean, like, why is the black dude in this example only a 2? Right? Like, is he not ethnic?
Well, no, he's saying
no.
That's a label.
The chart is saying that the 2 is like that's
is
just
where the black guy is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why isn't his ethnicity all the way at the edge?
Because he's black, but he's American. I'm pretty sure.
No, he's Brazilian.
Oh, he's Brazilian.
Well, but that would go into the culture. That would go into the culture. The
yeah.
culture skew. Michael, why does black have to be the most ethnically I can't even say that word. Ethnically diverse.
I mean, but like, where is black on the scale, right? Like, is it black, Asian, Indian? Like, where is it on the scale?
It truly does make the question of what is the scale?
I'd imagine the ethnicity chart is like the Peter Griffin like meme where it's like the different gradients of skin tone.
Yeah. So like he's not super dark skinned, so he's not
Also,
all the
like,
way.
So ability. So
Yes.
is ability okay? So in the center,
That means that he doesn't
the
have any sort of
ability-
disabilities or prosthetics, or anything like that. Like he's not in a wheelchair.
Oh, okay, like physical. But I thought it was
Yeah.
like okay, all right, and then nah, yo, this is weird, man. This is weird. Like,
Yeah, this
I get
is
it.
very strange.
And apparently none of those three characters are gay, I guess, or I guess that's what sexual orientation is.
Yes.
Why is sexual orientation? Oh, okay, all right. I mean, I always thought that.
Yeah, what
that
is the
Zora-
scale of sexual orientation? Like,
right? Because like it's
are
a
we
lot
doing
of it.
0 to
right?
gay? Because there's a lot of stuff outside of 0 to gay.
Yeah, I could
weird.
use more labeling on the diversity space method chart just to see exactly where
It's really stupid.
where they're coming from with this.
It's really truly stupid.
This is I don't know that this was created in a boardroom, but I know that this was created in a boardroom. 100%.
Oh, absolutely. Like this screams like we're doing like I have to do diversity training at my job, and like diversity training is difficult to put together, right? I understand that, but like my diversity training has a group of diverse people, right? And diversity doesn't just mean black or not not white, right? It means what it means, diverse, right? Like we have a bunch of different types of people delivering this training, and it's actual people talking to you. Like it's not like we're gonna put a bunch of diversity concepts into a scantron and then see what pops out.
That's what I want is for them to like engineer this into like a fucking diversity generator where they could just like press a button and it like pops out a character with like with like the proper balance of diversity that they're looking for.
Which is just like create a character and hitting random.
I am begging game companies, not just Blizzard, but game companies at large, to simply hire a diverse team of writers and character designers and artists, and you will see diversity naturally occur within the cast, because
Also,
this was developed 100% by a group of straight, cis, white, able-bodied men. I guarantee you that this was just a bunch of suits in a room who were like, oh, well, the kids these days, they really want diversity in their games. How are we going to give it to them? Should we hire more women and people of color? No, what if we just did this? I got a graph. I got a graph for that. I got a PowerPoint. We're set.
Also, you can't. It's not just hiring them. Like you got to put them in positions of authority, man.
Yeah.
You got to put them. They got to be decision makers, and or next to the decision makers, right? Like they got to have the ear of the people who make the final decisions, right? Like, and look, it's not nobody's saying it's wrong to be a cis het white male with a beard and brown hair hosting a video game podcast, right? Like nobody's saying that.
No one's saying that.
You
are who you are, but the
Right.
world is bigger than who you are, and it's important to
you.
represent the world.
That's it. That's
That's
it.
Well, allow me to personally apologize for creating this woke tool. Apparently it's now being blamed on me
This is your fault. You
for
did
some
this.
reason. And imagine that like this, like, and imagine like like this is what they're distracting everyone with. Like something so bad. That's how bad like the union busting shit is. And they're like, we have to throw this out there just to give someone some red meat to fucking gnaw on while we run afoul of labor union boards across the country. So
Oh shit.
oh, Carrie, tell me what's going on with WADA
Yes.
right now.
So WADA Games, which we've talked about on the show before, because last year there was a YouTube journalist, Carl Jobst, who did a deep dive investigation into what the fuck's going on at WADA Games. WADA's a grading company for video games. And now there's a class action lawsuit in California against WADA Games. It's basically it's over allegedly conspiring with Heritage Auctions to increase the value of video games and to artificially inflate the market. Of course, WADA and Heritage both deny any wrongdoing. Now, Pat the NES Punk has a delightful little thread that sort of details that I'm just going to read from because he summarized this whole lawsuit better than I ever could, and he actually read through the lawsuit, and I didn't because I don't like reading legalese. But basically, the complaint includes broken WADA timelines for returning graded games, the relationship between Jim Halperin, the Heritage Auctions founder, and Dennis Kahn, the founder of WADA. It also involves the $100,000 Super Mario Brothers purchase, the Pawn Stars appearance that Dennis made, and other inside dealings and conflicts of interest. There are questions of law and common fact that boil down to whether or not WADA engaged in conduct to artificially inflate the retro game market, and if they charged for grading services based upon those artificially high prices while falsely advertising unrealistic turnaround times. Now, here's the thing about how WADA works, and this is how many collectibles grading companies work, is that the cost of grading your game is based upon the market value of that game. So in order for you to get, let's say, Action Comics #1, if you somehow stumbled upon an ungraded copy of Action Comics #1, the first appearance of Superman and the most valuable comic book, probably to ever exist, because the value of that comic book is in the millions of dollars, that's going to cost you far more to certify, grade, and slab than whatever just hit the shelf this past Wednesday at your local comic book store. The same principle applies to video games. So, notably, a lot of video games over the last 2 years have really ramped up in price, which means that WADA could charge more to grade these games, which meant they made more money. Mm-hmm. So the crux of the complaint is that the plaintiffs did not receive what they bargained for, in that the pricing for the grading services were based on artificially inflated values due to the market manipulation conducted by WADA. And the other issue is that WADA accepted orders knowing that their estimated turnaround times could not possibly be met. There were people who submitted games to WADA who waited for like 2 years to get their games back, when these were supposed to be back sometimes in a matter of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Now, didn't you mention before that one of those CEOs is on the board of the other's company or something along those lines?
Yeah. So I believe that Jim Halperin was originally on the board of WADA, and maybe I could be getting this wrong. I believe he may have facilitated the partnership between WADA and Heritage, because there was this working relationship, and I believe there still is a working relationship between WADA Games and Heritage Auctions, where Heritage gets stuff directly from WADA without someone having to like send something into WADA and then get it back and then send it into Heritage. WADA just gives it to Heritage.
Right.
So yeah, there's just it wasn't Jim Halperin. It was Mark Haspel, a different asshole who once got sued for basically breaking the collectible coin market. Yeah, so there's a lot of dumb shit going on. Like,
well, it seems really similar.
Mark Haspel was the co-founder of WADA, and despite the fact that the company said to media outlets, and I believe at one point said on their website, that their employees are not allowed to sell WADA graded games because that's a fucking conflict of interest. Haspel admitted to selling WADA graded games. So it's a mess. Like the secondary market for video games has been a mess for the last few years, and a lot of it is WADA and Heritage's fault.
Well, from what I remember, because I think I watched that whole Carl Jobst video. Weren't they doing the thing that like people were doing in the NFT space, where like they were like listing these games and then pumping up the bidding and then basically buying it back themselves, but never actually paying the auction price because they owned it anyway, just to have a listed record of sale for X amount
and
of dollars.
that's why this one copy of Super Mario Brothers went from $100,000 to $2 million in about a year and a half, something like that. Now, for the sake of full transparency on this very serious media outlet of a podcast, I must once again state the fact that, like, I know Dennis, and I have had games graded by Dennis and games graded by WADA, and they're full of shit, and I hope they get run up in court, because what they've been doing over the last couple years has been really, really bullshit. And it's just some hot shit. I'm literally ready, because like I have a few WADA graded games, and I'm literally ready to like take a drill to those take a drill to the boxes and get those games out of there. It's bullshit. So
yeah, I mean, again, it's in this, with NFTs and everything like that, like we have a lot of people that are looking to get rich very quickly for little to no effort. So
I know from talking to these people to their face that a lot of the folks who have been buying a lot of retro games are old comic book guys who have no sentimental attachment to video games, who may have never so much as played a video game outside of maybe a pinball machine back in 1979, who simply decided to take advantage of a rapidly growing market bubble and, freely participated in the active inflation of video games, because they knew that meant that they could make money in auctions. And that's exactly what they did, is they artificially inflated all this shit. And it's like it blows my mind. Like I worked in sort of the collectibles end of the comic book industry for 6 years. And so I know a lot of these people, and I know that a lot of them literally told me to my face that they were looking to start buying more video games and having them graded so that they could sell them as the market rapidly expanded, and basically use it as a get rich quick scheme. And meanwhile, people who actually collect the games to have them to play on old systems or to own them out of a sentimental value or something like that, because it's something they enjoyed as a kid, get screwed out of the whole deal.
Right. It just becomes another commodity that gets traded for increasing costs for financial gain. So it's unfortunate.
That sucks, man.
I look forward to seeing what happens with this class action lawsuit, because should there be a settlement, I would get paid because I would be a member of the class. So, in any case,
like I said, shitty.
My $5 check in the mail. Thank you very much.
The theme of the episode just seems to be shitty corporations doing shitty things.
Mm-hmm.
DensePixels.com/Amazon.
I love a segue.
See, I'm getting better. I'm picking up what you're putting down, man. For your Amazon purchases, go to DensePixels.com/Amazon. Let's see. Pick up where you left off. Where did we leave off? Baby boy sibling shirts, romper, big brother long sleeve t-shirt, and little brother bodysuit matching outfits. Go to DensePixels.com/Amazon and get yourself some matching toddler baby clothes at DensePixels.com/Amazon. Those are kind of cute.
It is like I almost don't want to read any of these titles. They're so it's such a barren week of new releases. I've not heard of any of these games except for one of all of this stuff.
Yep.
I'm just gonna run it down. I'm not even giving you consoles. If you care enough, if it sounds interesting, go seek it out on your own. Tennis Manager 2022, Curious Expeditions 2, Shores of Taishi DLC, Deadcraft, End Zone: A World Apart Survivor Edition, Eternal Threads, Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song, Apico, that's an acronym, Cotton Fantasy, Dolmen.
Whoa. Don't like that.
And the Endless Summer Search for Surf are all coming out this week. So you got that going for you. Which
Not
is
great.
nice. Fall Guys is going free to play, apparently. That's pretty cool. So if you missed out on Fall Guys, it's also coming to Xbox and Switch soon as well.
But here's the thing. It is leaving Steam.
Oh,
You will not be able to get it on Steam after that. It will only be available via Epic.
interesting. Very interesting.
Not that it matters because it's free, but something to keep in mind.
So PlayStation also, on the heels of this Game Pass deal on these Xbox delays, finally detailed what games are going to be available when the new PlayStation tiers roll out at launch. And I have to say, it's a pretty robust list. I'm not going to go through the whole list because that would be, not necessary. I will highlight the PS5 games that are going to be available on day one. If you have the premium tier or the deluxe tier, I can't remember what they're called. Doesn't really matter. So you get the Death Stranding Director's Cut, Demon's Souls, the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is going to be available for PS5. Spider-Man Miles Morales and the original Spider-Man are both going to be available. Returnal is going to be on there at launch. The PS4 games that are going to be available are pretty much what you'd expect to see. Like, it's all like Sony, for the first party titles you would expect to be on a service like this, essentially. Nothing's really missing. And then as far as third party games go, they are partnering with Ubisoft, so Ubisoft Plus is going to be part of the service as well, and it's apparently coming to Game Pass too. But Valhalla will be on there day one. The Control Ultimate Edition will be on there day one. Guardians of the Galaxy will be on there at the start. Mortal Kombat 11, NBA 2K22, Outer Wilds, Red Dead 2, Artful Escape is going to be on there. So, and again, that's just a select sampling of games. Like, the full list is probably about 40 games deep, give or take, between first party and third party. Now, that's pretty good. I think it's very comparable to what you find on Game Pass. So that's kind of what they need, especially when they don't have the strength of new first party releases that are going to be available. Now, the retro games that are available with the premium, like the top plan, those are a little lacking right now, I would say. And this isn't the only list, but this is what they're starting with. So, like, Ape Escape, Hot Shots Golf, Siphon Filter, Super Stardust Portable is the only PSP game that's going to be on there.
The iconic, legendary Jumping Flash.
Jumping Flash is on there as well. There's 2 Worms games coming from third party. Tekken 2 will also be on there alongside Mr. Driller. And then, yeah, not even Superior Tekken 3. But
Not
Tekken
3,
yeah.
the one that broke the fucking mold. Okay.
But then they're also making several remasters available, but they're the remastered versions of the game as well. So, like, you have, like, for example, the Dark Cloud games, the Jack series, Rogue Galaxy is going to be on there, Wild Arms 3, third-party remasters.
BioShock.
Yeah, are also on there, BioShock, the Borderlands Collection, Kingdoms of Amalur, Re-Reckoning, Bulletstorm. And then the PS3 games that are available via streaming, a couple highlights from there. The Infamous games, the Ratchet and Clank series on PS3, Resistance 3 is on there, Super Stardust HD, Lords of Shadow 2, Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, just the Undead Nightmare DLC for Red Dead, which doesn't make sense, but okay.
Huh.
And then they announced the initial time-limited trials that will be available from day one. That's going to be the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection, Horizon Forbidden West, Cyberpunk 2077, Farming Simulator 22, Tiny Tina's Wonderland, and WWE 2K22. Those are going to be the ones that are available at launch. So my question to Micah.
No. No, not at all. Every game that I would be interested in, I already own. Even some that I don't that I bought and I'm like, why did I buy this? I already own, or already have through in my library
Yeah.
through because they were out on PlayStation Plus originally.
Yeah.
So no, this is not going to be something that I am going to partake in. I mean, the list of games seems good, but I have to imagine that if you are a PlayStation person,
Mm-hmm.
you have all of these games. Like who is into? Well, I guess the point is that maybe you're not into it, and maybe you want to try it,
Mm-hmm.
but I I don't know, man. It seems a little too late. Like I need to see what their offerings will be in the future. I was never I wasn't always like a PlayStation guy, right? So like
Yeah.
the older games don't really do anything for me. Um, and I can't. I'll defer to you whether or not these classics are you know worth a damn.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, some of the RPGs are solid, but like, am I gonna
I like
tell
Rogue
anyone that they
Galaxy,
like
right?
should
But I'm not gonna. You're
should
right.
someone
Like
really be spending $100 a year for the sake of playing Dark Cloud? I don't think so.
right.
I mean, at this point, like I'm in a situation where my PS Plus just renewed for the year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not interested in spending any more money right now. I'll continue to get the same PS Plus that I've always gotten because they've said that that's not really changing. Um, so at this point in time, this time next year, getting ready to renew for the year, maybe I'll upgrade to the deluxe. But show me what you've got this time next year. This isn't enough of a incentive for me to upgrade right now.
Yeah. Like again, like to Micah's point, like the initial offering is what we thought it would be. Like it's stuff, and even more to Micah's point, it's stuff we've already gotten for free in, in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Like I think literally all of these games, or well, not all of them, but like of like that PlayStation Plus like package that they put out when you got a PS5 of those 20 games that you got to download, like literally like 15 of them I think are on on this list.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's what it should be, and it's I mean, right now it looks like a direct competitor to Game Pass, considering Microsoft the main feature of Game Pass is not coming to fruition. But if like Micah said, if you already own a PlayStation and you have for a while, you probably own most of these, or at least the ones that you want to play that have any interest in playing. So,
Yeah.
but it's a good start. Like I said, I think it's a good library of games, and if you're new to PlayStation and you're getting the service, I think you have a lot there to get started with, which is cool. To the post office, Johnny says Nintendo's discussing cautiously about the successor to the Switch, and they don't want another Wii U. That's like one of the big things that they're saying in Nintendo is they don't want the next Wii U to come out. What is the absolute thing Nintendo must not do with its new console?
Put a U at the end of it.
That I feel like I have a lot of thoughts about the Wii U because like I had one and I played it a lot and I enjoyed it for what it was. But I also recognize that it felt like a very interesting between step between the Wii and the Switch. There were some interesting things that it did, and there were some things that it was trying to do that it didn't really execute on. It sacrificed good user experience for the sake of innovating just to innovate. And I like Nintendo, and obviously I like Nintendo. We've been over this, but it's I don't want them to innovate just for the sake of innovation. I don't want them to throw something weird in there just to do it. The Switch is such an ideal little console because, it's got an incredible amount of great first and third party titles. It's got a great indie library. The stuff that you get, in the retro games that you get via Switch Online are a neat little extra. The stuff that you get with the Switch Online expansion pass, I feel like with the amount of first party DLC that you get with that, absolutely makes it worth it on top of the N64 and Genesis titles. I don't really know what I want Nintendo to give me with its next console. At this point, I just want a more powerful Switch.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily need anything different. A Switch is so ideal, especially if you have like an actual Switch rather than like the Switch Lite, because it's both. I can play on my television and then I can throw it in my bag and take it, on a trip, and it's perfect. They nailed it. I don't fix what isn't broken. Give me Joy-Cons that don't drift and give me a slightly more powerful system. That's it. That's all I want.
Yep. I think I think the biggest thing is not to mess too much with the formula. Just, cuz they did figure it out. Like it's really working right now. I would say though that I don't need you to go toe to toe with Microsoft and Sony as far as like specs, but I need you to come harder than 1080p in 2022. Yeah, I don't think you can shortchange the home experience. I think you need to make the console feel premium while still Nintendo, while still accessible, and portable too. Because I think that's the big thing with the Switch is that the utility of being able to take it on the go and have that console quality experience is really attractive. I mean, it literally caused Valve to fucking make us the Steam Deck and like find a way to generate a portable PC. So you obviously have something that works there, but just don't do something stupid, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, I don't really have too much else to say. Like, just make it a little more powerful. I agree. Make it, when I dock it, like I want to be like, yeah, like this is what this is supposed to look like docked.
Yeah.
Are we going to have to go back to the lock-on technology of the Sega Genesis and the Ann Knuckles cartridge, where the dock is going to have something built into it?
Yes, I know. I do think that they need to put like an extra processor or something in the dock just to be able to.
If they can make that work, that would be amazing. That's literally all I thought of, though, was like, oh, what if they did that thing that Sega did with Sonic 3 and Knuckles, where they like had that extra little chip in the secondary cartridge? Just slam that in there.
Daniel says, BioWare put out a tweet hinting that Shepard is alive and later, quote, fixed it. What are the odds that they leaked a plot point in the new game?
Leaked.
Low.
Please.
Reportedly, the timeline of this game takes place hundreds of years after, or at least a couple hundred years after the original trilogy.
It's science fiction.
It
Shepard
is.
can be in cryo storage. Who cares?
Carrie, Shepard literally died and came back to life.
Yes.
So you can literally do anything.
Well, but here's the problem though, is that if they do bring Shepard back, then one of the three endings of Mass Effect 3 has to be canonical. And right. it has to be the red ending. It has to be the canonical ending, because that's the only one where there's a actual Shepard body to exhume, because in the other two endings, Shepard interfaces with the Reapers and dematerializes essentially. So I don't think you can bring him back if either of those.
Simply rematerialize Shepard. I don't see what the problem is.
Now that being said, a lot of people when they first pointed out, when they saw Liara in the trailer, they're like, "Oh, see, it takes place right afterwards."
No,
idiots. Asari can live 1,000 years. That's been established in the canon.
Right. She was essentially a damn 18-year-old.
Yeah, she's a teenager. She was 150 years old in the original trilogy, which is
right.
Quite young for Asari age. Dumb idiots. Dummies. Not paying attention to the games. Fools.
I can't believe you would pay attention to every ounce of lore.
That's a pretty minor piece of lore. That's just known.
everyone knows that when blue squid-haired ladies, they live to be at least 1,500 years old. Come on, guys.
Blue lesbians live forever.
They are non-gendered, Gary.
Right.
Oh,
They just have boobs and a vagina.
I have always seen them described as lesbians.
Well,
I haven't
actually,
played Mass Effect.
Micah, they don't have
No, they don't
female
have,
genitalia. Their genitalia.
What, they got a cloaca?
No, they can form whatever genitalia is necessary to match
whatever you need
the needs of their partner.
They can do whatever you need.
Because their partner might not be human. Because they also procreate with other alien races as well.
And when they have children, they all come out looking like them.
Yeah.
Like a somebody. So it doesn't matter it's much like how my future son will look just like his mother, just like my current son does. No, they will get no genetic traits from me, not from the looks department, but they will get all the beauty from her and like her brains because she's smarter but they get my stupid, surly disposition. That's what my son has right now. He's just he don't ever want to do nothing. Just want to sit in the house all day. Watch Peppa Pig. That's me. I want to sit in the house and watch Peppa Pig all day.
Finally, Film Wander asks, in honor of recent IndyCar winner Colton Herta, do any of you guys have a moment of drifting in the rain for the race lead like he was with Pato O'Ward late in that race? So for those that don't know what's going on here. So in the IndyCar race that happened this past weekend, the rain started to come on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway track, and many of the race drivers did not immediately go in to get rain tires, which was a bad idea for them because then they couldn't keep the damn car on the track. And a lot of the leaders tried to stay out and hold on till the end of the race, but they fell down the pack because when it starts raining, being on slick tires is not a great way to control your car. I'm trying to think of any moments of drifting on in where I grew up, in the Pikesville area in Maryland, there is a back road, Stevenson Road, that has like this dip in it that when it rains a lot, like when you go across this area of road, you literally are just hydroplaning across it. Like there's no way for your tires to actually make contact with the road because so much water collects in this little gully. So anytime I would go through there when there's a decent rainstorm, that was just by the grace of God, I go through the hydroplane valley. That's the only thing I can think of any instance like that.
Not in the rain, in the ice, yeah, but not in
yeah.
the rain. And I remember one time I was driving to my job with my mother in the back seat and my wife in the passenger seat. I was driving to my job because I forgot something, and one of my old jobs was off of Florida Avenue in Severn, and you got to go down a residential street in order to get to it, and they hadn't done their drive. They hadn't, like, snowplows hadn't come through. And I felt like a badass because I started fucking drifting, and they were all panicking and shit. And I'm like, "Yo, this ain't helping." Like, I'm as cool as the ice on the ground, right? And I just, I fix it, right? I get everything. They were like, "Oh, I'm so impressed. I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's no problem." Meanwhile, I damn near shit myself because I didn't want to get into a fucking accident and run into these people's houses. But yeah, nah, you gotta keep it cool, man. Keep all this shit on the inside.
I drive a Hyundai Elantra. I don't.
I mean, my ice story is when I used to own a T100. I was turning from Towsontown Boulevard onto Charles Village, hit a patch of ice, and did a full 360. But came out of the 360, pointed the right direction, and I did not stop. I just kept on driving
like a badass, man. I didn't do that.
Yep. So that was pretty fun. And I did not panic. So unlike Micah, who shit his pants, I didn't. I was completely cool in that situation. I was like, "Yep, I'm spinning. Time to turn into the spin." And then as I stopped spinning, I'm like, "Oh, I'm pointed the way I need to go. Let me press the ease on the gas pedal and just drive off in the distance."
I think the only time I've really spun out on like ice. It wasn't even really ice, it was slush, and I lost traction. It was like they had completely plowed up to a certain point, and then past that was just like full slush. So like I hit the slush really fast, and I skidded into a fire hydrant hard enough to knock the fire hydrant off the ground. And I was fully expecting water to come up, but no water came up. And I was honestly a little disappointed. It blew out the two, like I hit the curb so hard, it blew out both tires on that side. And I drove around with a big hole in my bumper for like 2 years because I didn't want to get it fixed. I didn't want to pay for it.
So there you go. That's our harrowing stories of automobile panic on the road. Thank you guys very much for submitting questions to the Dense Pixels post office. Just a reminder that you too can join the post office by going to densepixels.com/fans. Make sure you subscribe to this show as well as all the other shows in the TNP Studios stable, wherever you download fine podcasts. Go to youtube.com/densepixels. Subscribe to us there. Follow us on Twitch TV by going to twitch.tv/densepixels. You can all follow us individually as well. I'm Dense Pixels Brad. Carrie, sup, it's Carrie. Terrence is Apparition 410. Carrie has a gig this weekend.
I do. The Baltimore Gamer Symphony Orchestra's first live show since 2019 is this Saturday, May 21st at the Solars Point Multipurpose Center in Dundalk, Maryland at 1 p.m. It's a free show. It's called Console Wars. I'll just go ahead. I'll tell you the set list right now so you got something to look forward to. We're opening with Star Fox. That's fun. We're following that up with the Sega Mega Medley, which contains selections from Restar, among other classic Genesis titles. We've got Phantasy Star 3. We've got Secret of Mana. We've got Echo the Dolphin. We got Castlevania. Then after Castlevania, which is a really fun a cappella piece featuring our choir, we're going to take a little break. We got intermission. I got some fun stuff planned for intermission for you to watch while you're hanging out. Then we come right back from intermission with fucking Street Fighter 2, The World Warrior. Then right after that, Mortal Kombat, Toe Jam and Earl, Earthbound. Let me finish up with Mario and Sonic. Now, this is a fundraiser show for the orchestra because we're an all-volunteer, all-ages community video game orchestra, and we don't collect dues from our members, but that means our budget is it's tight. It's real tight. So we got some stuff that needs repaired. We got some equipment we want to purchase, and we need money to do that. So we're gonna have a Sega box and we're gonna have a Nintendo box, and whichever box has more money in it at the end of the night determines our finale piece. I'm not going to tell you the finale piece. I will tell you that they are iconic tunes. They are meme tier tunes from classic Sega and Nintendo franchises. So I've got a bunch of tunes that I've arranged on this show. I'm playing bass guitar. I'm playing regular guitar too. You can come hang out. It'll be a good time. It's a free show, video game music. If you're in Baltimore, the fuck else you got going on this weekend? Nothing. That's what. I'll see you Saturday.
So, look, some serious topics on the show, but I just want to point out that my cat's second birthday is coming out around the corner. And, they make fun noises, those two. So we got that going for us. Thank you guys very much for watching and listening. We'll see you all the next time.
See ya.
See ya.